He's not that old. Perhaps 20 years, no more. He has blonde hair that hangs in front of his eyes. He wears dirty leathers, perhaps the only clothes he owns. He was there, but you couldn't see him. Nobody can, and those who do forget him. Just like you are right now. His name is Cole. Welcome, patrons. It's hard not to fall in love with the sweetness that is Cole, but few actually understand him. Hell, I can't say I quite understand him. But let's take a moment to discuss what we do know about Cole. Both of them. The real Cole. Before we talk about everyone's beloved Cole, something to remember is that there are two Coles. The Cole we know is a spirit from the Fade that identified with the real Cole so much, he became a new Cole. So who was this mysterious young boy? We don't know too much, and the only real information we get is from the book Asunder. I won't go into how they got there, but the book has a section where the characters wander the Fade. They find Spirit Cole in the nightmare of the real Cole. His nightmare is of a poorly kept hovel in Ferelden. Inside is miserable and terrifying, blood-covering parts of the ground, and an angry man yelling for Cole in the cellar of the home. From his dialogue, we know that this is Cole's abusive father. His mother had magic on her side of the family, but it's unknown if she was a mage. After the demon memory of Cole's father is defeated, Cole is found in the home. An excerpt from Asunder. And then she opened the last cabinet. Inside crouched a filthy young boy, perhaps 12 years in age, with shaggy blonde hair hanging in front of his eyes. His face was filled with stark terror, wide eyes having long drained of tears that now stained his cheeks. And worst of all, a little girl was squeezed in there with him. She was half his age, held in a crushing grip, with one hand clamped over her mouth as if to keep her quiet. Only she was dead. The young boy began shaking, fighting against sobs that threatened to overwhelm him. "Please don't tell Mama," he begged Evangeline in a quivering whisper. "Mama told us to hide. We have to hide." She reached out and removed Cole's hand from the little girl's mouth. "Bunny was crying," he explained in a tiny voice. "Mama told us to be quiet. I only wanted her to be quiet." Reese reached out to touch him, but then stopped. A dagger had appeared in the boy's hands. Cole's dagger. The boy held it up in an obvious threat, a desperate rage slowly overtaking his face. "I won't let you hurt Mama anymore," he seethed. "I'll stop you." So, we know that Cole's father was abusive, that his mother was a wilder folk and was killed by Cole's father. Cole was the oldest of two siblings, his younger sister, Bunny, being about 6 years younger than him. We know that Cole's father had tried to sell his mother's dagger, and so she buried it in the yard so he wouldn't be able to sell it. And then Cole dug it up with his bare hands and used this to avenge his mother's murder by killing his father. He uses this dagger throughout Asunder. From the novel, it seems that Bunny was accidentally suffocated by Cole, who was trying to protect her from their father. The last image he has of her is the two of them in a cabinet, her wearing a bright yellow dress. It's assumed that this all happened when Cole was around 12 years of age, but it's unknown what happens after that. For around the next 6 years or so, Cole is most likely running from the Templars. World of Theta states that Cole is eventually arrested by the Templars, being charged with the murder of his entire family. While we know that Cole originated from Ferelden, he is taken to the Valrio Circle Tower, the White Spire. A new Templar jailed him in a remote part of a circle prison and accidentally filed the wrong type of paperwork. Instead of listing Cole as a new mage that should be investigated, he was filed under one that is awaiting trial, and as no such trial existed, he was forgotten about. The real Cole, just a young boy, perhaps barely 20, starved to death alone in the dark. It's this moment where the Cole we know met him. We don't know the specifics, but a spirit of compassion came across Cole and gave him comfort while he passed on. The spirit was so affected by the intensity of Cole's memories, it took on Cole's persona. In the aftermath of the real Cole's death, the Templars of the Circle Tower covered it up, erasing all records of the event to protect the young Templar who messed up. What is he? The main question that everyone wants to know, what is Cole? Putting it right out in the open, Cole is a spirit of compassion that found a sad dying boy. This affected him so much that he became the boy. The memories were so clear, the innate magic of the spirit created a body. The body has elements of most humans, like the ability to bleed, but lacks the need for food or water. This brings into question that perhaps this is how life on Thetis came to be. A spirit gained so much concrete consciousness it developed a form, and everything after that is its descendants. But that's all theory. In Thetis, Cole is unique and unusual, a one-of-a-kind mishap that is not able to be understood, except by Solus, which we'll get to in a bit. Asunder. Because Cole is so deeply tied to the events of the novel, and I'll save major novel coverage for the book club, I'll only really go over the need to know at a breakneck speed here. With the real Cole dead and Spirit Cole now wandering the Circle Tower, he has some growing pains to handle. I'm not really sure what magic is at play here, but the memory of Cole conflicts with the needs of a spirit, making this weird half and half Cole. Cole has this innate power, which is not technically invisibility, but rather to be forgotten. People do see him, but they do not remember he is there when they briefly look away. In Inquisition, Cole briefly talks about this in party banter.
I'm not really real. They already want to forget me. I find the part that doesn't fit and set it free. Their mind makes a shape that makes sense without me.
In the novel Asunder, Cole is unable to control this. Spirit Cole, in his need to help the hurting, does so the best way the real Cole knew how, ending things. Cole ends up mercy-killing many new mages that were brought into the tower. It's implied that his victims did consent to this, believing death to be above being in the circle. His mysterious murders are noticed, and they begin to call the unknown killer the Ghost of the Spire. Those he killed were able to see Cole in that last moment, and it's described that to Cole, in these last few moments with people before killing him, there was something that grounded him to reality, that he was important to them, and that made him feel real. This also put a lot of weight into the words that Cole would say before killing them. "Look into my eyes." Eventually, one mage is able to remember him, Reese, who we find out is Wynn's son. Anyway, the exact reason why Reese is somehow immune to Cole's abilities is unknown, but it's implied that it's because Reese has the ability to connect with spirits more so than other mages, a trait that his mother also had. And thus begins people in the novel who find out about Cole, acting upon the assumption that Cole is a human that has some unfortunate gift for people to forget him. There is no knowledge of the real Cole at all, as Spirit Cole truly believes to be him. Because he is the only one able to see and remember him, Cole is protective of Reese and wants to help him as best he can. These things don't go over very well, but Reese knows Cole has positive intentions. Reese is the first person that Cole befriends, ever. And a Templar named Evangeline, who cannot remember him well but does actively try to the point of writing a note to herself, is the second. Even in Inquisition, Cole cares deeply for them and wants the best for them. Anyway, events happen, with Cole meeting Liliana at one point, who does not seem to remember him in Inquisition. Anyway, and things get to a point where Cole needs to free Reese from a prison and escape. Things go smoothly, until the current Lord Seeker finds the pair with Reese's phylactery. The Lord Seeker had guessed that Reese was being aided by a spirit, and uses the litany of Adralla, which disrupts Cole's powers and proves to everyone once and for all that Cole is not human, but a demon. This shocks both Reese and Cole runs away in fear of what he is and what Reese thinks of him. In the end, Reese and Evangeline fear him and what he is, but both are mostly just confused on what happened. At the end of the novel, the Lord Seeker that proved him to not be real, thinking himself safe in his room, sees Cole. Cole tells him that there was actually a real Cole, and that he was only one to help him. And here, perhaps for the first time, Cole kills the Lord Seeker in vengeance. Also, side note, because it may confuse people, this Lord Seeker is not the one we meet in Inquisition. The Inquisition guy took over after Cole murdered the previous Lord Seeker. So, because I'm going so fast it may not sound like it here, it's very apparent when reading the novel that this sounds so different from the Cole we know in Inquisition. Honestly, and I guess we will see others' opinions when the book club episode comes out, but it's a bit shocking how different book Cole is to game Cole. Book Cole is scared and quiet and has no idea who or what he is. He doesn't even really remember the real Cole's past until parts of the Fade, and even then it's his memory. this version of Cole doesn't seem to be able to read the hurts of others as clearly as Cole is able to in Inquisition, and Cole's words make sense, and he doesn't speak in riddles. To break into the meta reason for this, it's probably because the book was written by David Gator, and the in-game Cole was written by Patrick Weeks. As the story goes, Gator did want to write for Cole originally, but because Weeks expressed a great interest in the character along with Gator wanting to pick up other characters like Dorian, Cole was handed over to Weeks. And honestly, not everyone will agree with me on this, but I find both versions of Cole to be equally enjoyable. I wouldn't say one is lesser than the other, but both do feel very different from each other. My only major complaint about this is why both have to feel so different and why there couldn't be continuity between them. My best guess at an in-lore reason for the difference is wrapped up in his personal quest in Inquisition. The Cole we see in Asunder believes himself to be human and acts human. Where he is proven to be spirit, he begins to lean more into his spirit qualities when we get to Inquisition. So one can assume that if we do see more of Cole in the series, a human Cole will act similar to how he did in Asunder, and spirit Cole will act like he did in Inquisition. Joining the Inquisition. We aren't sure what exactly happens with Cole in the year between Asunder and Inquisition, but I think it's safe to assume that he was mostly alone and hanging around the Templars at Therenfall Redoubt, where he had gone to murder the previous Lord Seeker. He states at one point that he ended up staying there because he's beginning to sense the Red Lyrium taking over the ranks and how it hurts them, which, considering there is only a year between Asunder and Inquisition, tells you how long Corypheus had worked into the ranks of the Templars. Eventually, the Inquisitor can either meet him at Therenfall, where he is either accepted to join the Inquisition or leaves, or he is met at the destruction of Haven, where he warns the Inquisitor about the oncoming army. Cole's powers. Right off the bat, we see that Cole has now gained the ability to control who can and cannot forget him. It seems that he mostly is able to be seen by the major party members of the Inquisition, the Inquisitor, and the 3 advisors. There is also party banter about why this is.
Why do you let us remember then? Sarah's at least as freaked out by you as the servants.
If she forgot me, she might hit me by mistake in a fight.
Cole has also been able to better come into terms with his need to help people, tapping into their minds and untangling knots, as he says a few times.
Do you choose what you're looking for, or is it random?
It has to be hurt, or a way to help the hurt. That's what calls me.
What he does seems to be a combination of saying what the other person needs to hear, giving them things, or even forgetting trauma. This is actually touched a bit in-game, but this brings up the morality of Cole just stepping into someone's head and making them forget without clear consent, and that perhaps people are better left remembering to learn from mistakes or events. So while I can't speak to what is the morally correct choice, I'd like to at least say that I find it really interesting that the writers have seemed to personify a fairly common trauma defense mechanism, which I'm just going to say is forgetting things. For a light example in my own life, I was actually heavily bullied as a kid, who would have guessed, and I've pretty much forgotten all of it, even things that happened at a time that I should be able to remember. The only reason I know what happened is coming across old things I had written and stories from my friends and family. But despite not being remember anything, any details at all, I have still learned from it. There are reactions that I had that were obviously related to that time in my life. I still grew and changed despite not being able to remember any of it. And other people do this too. Perhaps it's different in-game, but I would wager a guess that Cole's powers are a lot like motivated forgetting. The people he helps still have grown in a way, but the memory no longer bothers them. Another thing about Cole is that there are times when he becomes overwhelmed by the emotions and energies of the world around him. I bring this up because Cole's writer in Inquisition, Patrick Weeks, stated that he based Cole on people who are on the autism spectrum. Autism is a very complicated disorder, and people on the spectrum vary wildly, but a common symptom is becoming overwhelmed by stimulus that others are easily able to ignore or don't notice. Friendships. Something that I would like to point out that isn't discussed much in-game is how different Cole's time in the Inquisition is compared to the rest of his life. For the first time, Cole is letting himself be remembered by others on a regular basis. While he used to have a few friends, only one could really remember him. The friends he makes in the Inquisition are the first friends he has had in a long time. His time in the Inquisition is probably the happiest Cole has ever been. And with that in mind, I think this explains the devotion that Cole has for Solus. Solus was the first person to see Cole and not only instantly understand, but welcome and teach. The two were able to communicate in a way that Cole had not been able to before. Which, as a side note, if you have heard Cole and Solus talk about strange things and don't understand, a lot of their dialogue is actually Easter eggs towards other books, movies, and media. Anyway, while in-game, it's stated that Solus has a way with spirits because he spent so much time in the Fade. There are enough hints that perhaps Solus was once like Cole, a spirit that became a body and that he might actually regret it. But that is all theory at this point. This just cemented in Trespasser when Cole finds out that the Veil was created. Cole belongs here just like everyone else. Something just separated him for a time. Cole was able to see that Solus was right about him all along. He was valid. But on the other hand, we have Varric. The two have a strong relationship too, but in a completely different way. As seen with a lot of Varric's history, he has a knack of adopting his friends and teaching them the ways of the world. While he doesn't understand the ways of a spirit, he knows people, and he really tries to help Cole fit in with the others. And here we get into the Inquisition Dad Off 921 Dragon Edition. Human versus spirit. At some point in the game, if you have the right amount of approval, Solus and Cole argue over Cole's nature. Cole wishes to be bound to the realm of Thetis so that other mages will not be able to control him, while Solus knows that this could potentially hurt Cole in the end. Cole eventually figures out that the pain of the real Cole's memories are stopping him from developing, and he ends up tracking down the young Templar that accidentally killed him in the White Spire. Eventually, the decision is up to your Inquisitor to not do the quests at all, which presumably keeps Cole as he is, to let him develop into a human, or to let him revert back into a spirit. And in the end, there is no right choice here. Weeks has gone on the record many times saying that both outcomes have drawbacks and neither one is better than the other. But to become more human, Varric coaches, perhaps accidentally, Cole into taking the real Cole's memories and dwelling on them, thinking through them and letting go of actions of others, not for the person who wronged you, but for yourself. This grounding of the self cements Cole's humanity, and while the pain still hurts, Cole, after all is said and done, he has learned to grow. Eventually jumping to Trespasser now, Cole has lost the ability to make people forget. He has grown an interest in sexuality and has started a relationship with Meriden, the bard who sings all the songs in the Skyhold Tavern. And after the events of the game, Cole and Meriden travel Thetis together, working to make others happy. Or, to become more spirit, Solus to ask Cole to dwell in the Templar's thoughts and to remember who Cole originally was, a spirit of compassion. Cole was a human who went through horrible things, but he is a spirit. Cole's pain is not really his pain, and he cannot fix it anymore. But the Templar, he is currently hurting from the memories of what he did, and Cole can do something about that. By doing this, while Cole might not be attached to the name Cole anymore, he feels happier and free, even if he will always just be a spirit of compassion. In Trespasser, it seems like Cole still has a soft spot for Meriden, gently guiding her to either Krem and says that the two will help each other grow, or Zither, which he states won't go well, but at least will be fun. In the end, Cole says his final goodbye, saying that his friends won't forget him, but he passes through the Veil back into the Fade, and that he knows where his help is needed most. And while there's really no evidence for it, considering Cole's final words and seeing the relationship that Solus and Cole had, I wouldn't be surprised that in the end, if Solus needs to die, Cole will be there to bring his friend home. And that, dear patrons, is all that we know on... What was I talking about? Anyway, a gentle reminder that this Sunday is the first due date for the book club, name pending. I'm going to be reviewing all of the novels in the Dragon Age series, and I want to highlight your comments and content, which I will link the video explaining more on that in the doobly-doo down below. This week will be the deadline for the first 4 chapters of The Stolen Throne. Do you still have lingering questions, proof that I'm wrong, comments about your own fan theory? Feel free to tweet me at Gilderthon on Twitter or send a PM to user Gillanon on Reddit. The rest are all.